Hey, this is Warren from Taming Sorry, and you're listening to On the Fly with Stevie and Jason.
You are listening to On the Fly.
What's up, guys? On the Fly is back again. With me tonight is, of course, Mr. Worden over here. And we're going to have a special guest in just a few minutes that's coming in. We're tying in with our 80s. We've been doing a lot of 80s talk here lately. And tying in tonight, we're going to talk, if you were back in the, you were a kid back in the 80s, even if you weren't a kid, I guess if you were like in your 20s or whatever. My dad, I think when we got ours, it was just as much for him as it was for us. But Atari 2600. And I had the 2600. I had the 5200. I never got past that. I never got the 7800. I wonder what we're gonna have to ask Kyle about that when we get talking about it. I wonder what the 26 increments were, because there was a 7800, 2600, 5200. We'll have to find out about it. Maybe it was the memory or something like that. We'll find out. I never got that. But Warden, how you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. And I'm going to have to let Kyle talk most of the time because I only had the 2600, and I think I played the hell out of that, and I never.
Oh yeah, look,
I never got past that. That's where I peaked at on mine.
26 was the what I played mostly. The 5200, yeah. I remember when we got that. I didn't even look. I'll tell you the truth. When we got it for Christmas, I don't even remember asking for it for Christmas. I think, like I said, my dad was like, "Oh, they got a 5200 out. I think I'll just say I'm getting this for the boys, and I'll be playing this just as much as they will." And he did too.
I had my dad had the one that preceded that. It was the Pong, I guess, whatever.
Yeah. My grandparents.
Yeah, I had that too.
We had when I went to my grandparents' house and stayed, like, when they were babysitting me, whatever. They had I don't know where it came from, how they got it, but it was a Pong that you had to hook right. You had, you hooked it up to the TV just like
black and white.
Yes, black and white, and played the heck out of that. But before we get started with that, just looking over some of the, they had the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions this weekend.
Yeah, Dolly Parton playing with
Dolly Parton.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
I was like Dolly. I put on that all things rock, hard rock and metal. I put that, Dolly is metal AF,
Well, she said she would do a rock album.
Yeah, she's gonna do one now. She said, yeah. And
she did say Steve Perry was gonna be on her next album.
Can't wait for that. I thought about you.
Ho! You're representing tonight.
I representing what?
Vince
who? Oh yeah, it's Dr. Feelgood. Vince.
All I had to do was go like this. The Abominable.
He wasn't back then. No, yeah. I had a funny story. As you know, my phone died on Saturday.
Yeah.
And so I had, my phone. It just died. I got it fixed yesterday. Luckily, I had the $13 a month, Apple Care. And hell, I had to go to HEB, which is a grocery store, on Saturday. I had to actually use my mother's phone because I didn't have a phone, and call them, hey, whatever. So I get in the car, and of course, the first thing I do when I'm in my car, I plug in my phone to listen to, my Apple Music or, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and it's like I have to go old school and listen to FM radio. And I don't know if something happened, but guess a freaking Journey song came on.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, talk about being punished enough. First, I don't have my phone. Then I got to listen to FM radio. Now Journey. Stevie is somewhere laughing about that.
Which one was it?
It was, I don't know, one of their many annoying ones. Any way you want it, they all sound the same to me.
Any way you want it.
Yeah, I don't know. It was bad, but it was like God. And we don't have rock stations here anymore. We used to have a rock station, but they have like, I guess you have Jack FM up there where it's like kind of a mix. They'll play like Mariah Carey, then a rock song, and then but they have this rock station, but it's like really classic stuff that's overplayed. So I was stuck. So I had to sit there listening to Journey or Christmas music, and I'm not ready to listen to that yet. So Journey won out that day. Yeah, somewhere Stevie's getting his revenge. I'm having to listen to Journey.
Exactly. That was my plan all along. I took your phone out and played some Journey on the radio for you. I just knew right when you were going down the road.
It's amazing though how much is on our phones, because it was like I didn't back up my phone, and I had to do a backup. It was done in August, and I had to go, and I'm like, I think I got everything, but most of the pictures are on the iCloud and stuff like that. But it was like, it's amazing when you don't have your phone. I couldn't get a hold of anybody. I had to like message them through Facebook. Like, hey, I had to message my boss saying, hey, my phone's not working. I'm late on Monday. This is why. So
you were going to be late because your phone wasn't working?
No, there was traffic actually that day, and I had no way to text him. So I gave him a heads up, because they're doing a bunch of construction where I live. So it's hit or miss. Some days it's busy, some days it's not.
So did you end up being late?
No, I went all the way around.
Okay. I was going to say, you use that as an excuse to be like an hour late.
Well, he wouldn't complain because he's always late. So,
So, looking at another thing, Metallica is going to do another box set. Mega Force years with the 1984 theme set. They did a concert, and it was focused on Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning, and it was dedicated to Johnny and Marshall Zazula. You remember Johnny Z was the one that gave them their first break with a record deal. But yeah, so Metallica is doing it right. I mean, Kiss, take notice. They're doing box sets like people want them, and probably
what's wrong with Creatures and Destroyer?
Nothing's wrong with Destroyer.
That's the last two they did. What are they doing wrong with?
We haven't seen Creatures yet, but there's Metallica is doing different stuff with their box sets. So, like I said, Kiss did right with Destroyer because it's got so many tidbits and little things in there.
Well, then why are you saying Kiss isn't doing right?
But Metallica is doing it. Metallica's doing it.
They're okay compared to their first box set. Yeah, I agree that Metallica's much better. But these last two have been pretty good. I mean, the way. Granted, I have the Destroyer one I never opened. I mean, I'm not going to get the Creatures, but they look pretty cool.
Yeah, I hope Creatures is going to be cool because it's got Eric Carr stuff in it, and that's what I want to see. I want to hear some live.
So they're doing. So what you said they're doing the Mega Force years?
Mega Force years, yeah.
So that's up to Justice or up to Master? I forget.
That's up to Master.
Master. Well, that Master box set was pretty badass.
Yeah, but so that should be interesting to see. Creatures. Speaking of the Creatures box set, I think that's supposed to ship out next week. So
Tuesday, I think 16th or something.
If you ordered it from Kiss Online, you might get it in February.
Did you see that stuff on? They were talking. Somebody posted. I don't know where it was at, but Doc was talking about Dubai.
Yes,
and that they're looking into it. I mean, how many years later?
They're talking about Doc is talking about lawsuits. And
I don't know, man. I mean, lawsuits 2 years ago, maybe. I mean, that ship has sailed, so to speak.
Well, they did. He did say they were going to make it right. I mean, they couldn't. They obviously don't have Dubai. They don't have which I mean, I would have lawsuits to get it if I was Kiss, but they don't have it. But they're talking about doing something to make it right because
you know how many people
it's just, and I mean, it's just like that. It's been said on podcasts, on a bunch of Kiss podcasts. When it all boils down to it, Kiss, whoever did it, but Kiss put their name on it, so they've got to own up and try to help make it right. Try to help make it right or make it right.
The bootleggers did it right. They released it.
I know.
All they had to do is just record that concert and then burn it to an MP3 or release a video.
I've never seen it be so hard to put something on a DVD.
It may be an international thing, maybe like since it's in Dubai, there's international laws or something.
I think it was called "We're going to rip you off." That's what it was called. We want to rip you off.
I don't think Kiss did that. I think the people.
No, I'm talking about the people that were in charge of producing it, I guess what you would say.
'Cause
Yeah,
that's one thing about Kiss. You can say, yeah, they'll sell you the moon and the stars, but I mean, they pretty much deliver on most of that stuff.
yeah, they do. I mean, and I don't know if you heard Paul do his little interview talking about the Sam Loomis stuff.
No, I
Did
didn't
you
hear that.
that?
Nuh-uh.
Yeah,
Was this
Paul.
on the cruise or what?
Yes, it was on cruise. He said that obviously
Was he making a pizza at the time he was talking about it, or what? Cooking with Paul in discussion?
uh, he said that the tapes they had were stolen,
Of course they were.
and
All bootlegs pretty much are, aren't they?
he did pretty much say that Kiss had a lot in the vault.
Oh yeah. You've seen Kiss
And-
exposed. You've seen the vault.
Oh yeah, we've seen the vault. I would love to get my hands on the
Henry Kiss
holster,
Sr. is
the holster tape. The
is it
famous
Henry
holster tape.
Henry Kiss Sr.? Is he watching out
Yes.
for it?
No, it's
Joseph Kiss Sr. That's
Joseph
right.
Kiss Sr.
Henry Kiss Sr. What Henry Kiss Sr.
Yeah,
watched?
Joseph Kiss Sr., who came up with the vision of Kiss.
That's of course a picture of him without makeup.
Without makeup. But
Wow,
yeah,
wow.
but here's my thing to Paul and Gene and everybody in charge up there. If you got all that stuff in the vault, put it out. I mean, now's the time to put it out. You know,
But
you're not getting any younger.
But aren't there like music laws, because they don't own like the Kissology stuff, right? Didn't VH1 own that? I mean, that
they own that name. They own the name Kissology.
Okay.
If I understand right, that's what I've been told. They own the name, but all Kiss has got to do is put it out under another name. But here's the thing, and we've talked about this several times.
But Universal owns the music, right? So does that include the live ones, the live stuff?
I don't know. Here's the thing. They need to work out a deal where they can do a streaming service. Charge.
Yeah.
Like Metallica.
Metallica. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Put it out there. You ain't got to charge an arm and leg, which, I mean, Kiss, yeah, they'll charge an arm and leg. But you imagine how much money they would make off that a month?
Off us too.
Off Kiss cards, the Kiss cards everywhere. But that probably won't happen. I mean, but they need to do something with that stuff.
I just don't think they have I think they would have done it right now if they had the rights to do it. I just don't think they have the rights to do it.
Well, the way he talked, it's in their vault, and I mean,
yeah, but it can be in their vault. The films can be in there, but they may not have the rights to like.
Well, that's true.
They don't own their catalog. That's what I'm saying.
Anytime they've done it, I mean, like with Exposed.
But that was on Polygram. That was a record label.
Yeah, that was their record deal. But I mean, Universal is their record company, right?
Yeah.
So I
mean, maybe that's what they think they're doing with these soundboards. Maybe I agree. They should release like the whole video if they got that. Yeah, I agree with you. But it had to probably be an official release, I would think.
It would have to be. I mean, I have no problem with that. I would.
But is Kiss really on Universal's list of like things to take care of now when you got other artists? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, if that's the case, I don't know. I don't know if we probably won't ever see it again.
I just remember Kiss. I mean, it seems like back in the day they sold more videos like Exposed, Extreme Close Up, all Animalized, Uncensored. They sold a lot of video tapes back then. I mean, those would go like platinum, which was like 100,000 or something. That was a lot of VHS tapes. But now, because they were so visual, but now with YouTube, a lot of that crap's out there already. I mean,
well, you don't know. I mean, you don't know what they got. Well, I mean, like the famous holster tape.
Speaking for myself.
Can you?
Yeah, if you would shut up and let me talk, sir.
Hold on, let me mute myself right quick.
Yeah, thank you. Or mute me. Nah. Okay, shut up's too part. If you would hush. I mean, it's like they're talking about those. You really muted yourself. That's funny. It was the first time you ever listened to me, Stevie. But no, if they would, I mean, I don't really. I mean, the Sam Loomis stuff, it was cool, but how many fans are really going to be interested in it besides the diehards? It's going to be like that, like, it's a bootleg. I mean, are people really going to buy it? Is it worth Universal's time? Maybe Kiss look at it that way. Like, well,
how many people went on the Kiss cruise? How many? I mean,
I'll be honest with you.
There's diehard people that are going to buy it, bud.
I'll be honest with you. I've purchased a few bootleg pro shot videos, and you have one or two. I mean, this is me. I'm not a bootleg guy, but it's like, God, I already have that. Like, I'll have the Auburn Hills Hot in the Shade show. That's one of the best. Do I really want another one? I mean, do I really want another Destroyer, another Love Guns? If I have the Summit, I mean, that's kind of how I look at it.
Well, the Holy Grail, the one I'm after, and if they had it and they're holding it back, they should be ashamed.
What we need is another documentary.
No, Palladium, 1980, Eric Carr's first show.
Yeah,
that's what I would love to see.
But it would be cool if they were involved too and they talked about it. They didn't release it.
Like you're talking about like a watch along?
Not a watch along, maybe just like what they were doing at the time. Not a watch. I don't really like those shows because I have to focus on the movie and I don't like people talking during movies. So I'm not a very good watch along person.
I don't want them to keep interrupting.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want them to keep interrupting and talking about what they're doing then. But they could do something before or after and then play it. Yeah.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, like they could sit there and watch what they were doing. That'd be great. That'd be a great series. I think that would work.
Well,
but just to release like a live, they'd have to be involved with it more to like pique my interest. But that's just me.
Yeah. All right, so let's bring our guest in.
He's patiently waiting.
He might have fell asleep. Listen to all this.
I bet he has a lot to say. Kind of talking to him a little bit. He probably has some stuff to say about what we talked about. Now,
listen, when we talked to Kyle, Kyle is very knowledgeable.
He's the kind of guest we like. He talks.
Exactly.
That's what the kind of guest we like.
Exactly. I will tell you this. We were talking before. If you remember,
Stevie, were you talking to somebody backstage before?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody backstage. Yeah.
Before. Yeah. And will you tell them they like vodka and orange juice? Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. But yeah, if you people remember my wrestling podcast, that is, back in the day.
You had a wrestling podcast?
Yeah.
You guys did a show? I didn't know you had a wrestling.
Ringside Ramblings was the name of it. Me and Kyle did a 3-hour wrestling show about our top 10 wrestlers. And,
if you guys get close to that tonight, you're going to be doing us two guys. I don't think I can make it. But hey, speaking of wrestling, and we can ask Kyle's opinion, MJF's going to play Lance Von Erich in the new. I
saw that.
In the new video where you say that Zach is too big to be Kevin Von Erich. That drop kick looked pretty Kevin Von Erich though in that picture.
Yeah, but he is too jacked.
It's a movie, dude. It's a movie.
Yeah, but anyway, with us tonight, he's got a podcast he's been on for years. Big time ECU fan. My friend Robert likes to call him Kyle from LaGrange. Because when he calls in these ECU shows, it's Kyle from LaGrange. But yeah, with us tonight to talk some Atari is Mr. Kyle Barber. What's up, Kyle?
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
We're good. We didn't put you to sleep with all this Kiss talk, did we?
Actually, I'm not a Kiss fan at all. So that's one topic I do not have anything to speak on. I will say this. So you mentioned Journey earlier. Of the two bands, which one do you think would have an Atari 2600 game? You would have thought Kiss, right? Nope.
Yeah.
Journey.
They did, really.
Journey
Escape. I had it.
Yep, I have it. And released by Data Age. Terrible game. But
but I played the heck out of it.
Well, it matches the band. It's perfect.
Oh, come on now. But look, they actually, Kyle, somebody did it, and I'll have to.
Oh, it's Kiss pinball game that's really famous.
Yeah, I had that, but there was a.
You had a Kiss pinball machine?
No, there was a Kiss pinball game for like
a computer.
Sega. What was it?
And maybe PS1.
It was.
They used to have one for Windows too. Back in the 90s.
I had that.
Yeah, I had that one. Yeah.
But they had and I don't know if y'all could see it. Somebody did a mock-up Atari 2600 cover. You can't see it. I'll have to share it. But it was Kiss Atari 2600 Kiss Alive on Tour. They were like, wouldn't this be cool? I mean, and the box looks just like a Atari 2600 box.
What, do you sit there and just bang groupies or what? In the 70s? That's all you really did in the 70s, right?
To me, if you're going to do a Kiss game, you could have done a lot of different things with a Kiss game. I mean,
drugs and drinking.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could have just had like Gene Simmons with his tongue, like sticking it out, eating things, or
There's all kinds of could have shot stuff out of his eye like he did on Phantom. But
you guys mentioned MJF in the Von Erich movie. You know who he would have if he was Hispanic? Maybe you could have made him look Hispanic.
Gino?
He would have made
Gino.
Gino Hernandez. He would have been perfect to play Gino Hernandez.
yes, he has the attitude.
God,
definitely.
Gino, I remember, like I said, I'm quite a bit older than you. Not Stevie. Stevie's right behind me. I remember when I know we're gonna get off on wrestling here. I remember when that's what made me like the heels, is I was a big Kevin Von Erich fan, and when Chris Adams turned on him because of Gary Hart, and then him and Gino were the dynamic duo. And I remember I was like, what, 1986? I was like, 12? What? I don't know. I was young. It crushed me that he died. It just like, God, one of the best heels, what could have been.
Yeah.
Gino was awesome. You look at Gino, had he lived, I wonder, if
Horseman.
Gino, eventually would have left Dallas, went to Crockett, as you look at Barry Windham in the Horseman Luger and the Horseman, him and Tully Blanchard had a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to wrestle here in Southwest.
Yeah, exactly. Gino would have been a great horseman.
Yes. Your opinion, Zac Efron as Kevin Von Erich. Did you see how cut he was?
Pretty big.
Yeah, he is more cut than Kevin ever was. But the whole thing is, who's playing Kerry? I don't even know who's playing Kerry.
I haven't heard who's playing Kerry.
That's the whole thing. How cut is Kerry going to be? Because Kerry was more cut.
Kerry was a lot bigger than Kevin.
Exactly. So that's going to be the question.
Somebody's going to have to be mega jacked to be Kerry.
Exactly. The modern day warrior, Kerry Von Erich.
Yeah.
The whole Von Erich family is great documentary. If you guys want to check it out, not the WWE documentary on World Class. I'm having a brain fart of what it's called now, but there was an independent documentary done about World Class. It was tremendous. Done right before the WWE bought the footage. And I got it. I own it, but I just cannot. If I could think of the name of it.
Did they ever put that on the network, or was that another documentary?
They did. They did put the WWE one, but not the one that was done independently.
Okay.
I'm looking. Is it on YouTube?
I have no idea.
Von Erich's tragedy. Here's a World Class Championship Wrestling. I don't know. You let me know.
I'll look it up and get back to you.
Let me know. Because I would love to see that. Because I remember back in the day, because you coming from a small town like I'm in, and you didn't have cable, so we only got to see Crockett, and we got to see WWF once a week, and then maybe when they had a Saturday night's main event, you would see it then if you stayed up late. But you'd always have to read about World Class Championship Wrestling, and that was a lot of. You had Rick Rude. You had the Ultimate Warrior. You had the Von Erichs. You had
One-Man Gang.
Yeah, One Man Gang was there.
World Class was like, of course, being from Texas, it was Von Erichs were just huge. They did Pizza Inn commercial.
I've seen those awful Pizza Inn commercials.
Yes.
They're back in the day, they were awesome.
Yeah, speaking of Von Erichs in general, Kevin Von Erich can't tell the truth to save his life. That is the most lying son of a bitch I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Oh my God, yes. You
just gotta know the stuff.
Just watch some interviews with him. He will lie and exaggerate, and
wasn't Fritz the same way?
Yeah, I believe so. But Kevin, I'm glad at least one of those boys is still alive, and I respect Kevin for what he was. But man, he is him and the Truth are not good friends. He ain't as bad as Hogan, but he's pretty bad.
It's funny. You talk about his dad. There was a time when he was a Nazi. Like his character was a Nazi.
Yeah.
Can you imagine somebody trying to be a Nazi nowadays? They would.
Well, you know what? Gunther in WWE, the name they originally gave him when he first came in, it was Gunther. It had a last name to it.
Oh, okay.
And it was like a Nazi U-boat captain. And
wow.
That was probably Vince's idea.
I just have flashbacks to what the guy in the 80s, Colonel De Beers, was like a South African apartheid guy.
Was against snooker.
Wrestling used to be like just wide open west.
Well, it was so easy. The foreign nemesis was going to be the bad guy. USA. It was simple. It's a simple formula. and it worked.
Like
from,
when Slaughter went when Slaughter turned heel. I didn't see that coming, man. I
actually
knew
did not
kind of
like
what
that. I did not like it.
I didn't either.
It never made any
He's
sense.
a hell of a heel, though. He was a great heel.
Oh,
though.
he was a great heel, but why? Why was suddenly he a Rocky sympathizer?
Because the war was going on, and it.
Why did the Iron Sheik change his name?
They never said what made him turn against like America and be a Rocky sympathizer.
Well, it was because of the war, the Desert Storm broke out. That's what I read.
I mean, that was why they did it.
That's why they did it. Yes, but why?
What was his reason?
Why does McMahon do a lot of stuff?
Well, I mean, right.
Somebody turns heel, they come out and
in storyline,
they'll have a storyline. They'll tell you why they turned heel.
I'm against this war because America only wants the oil in Iraq, and the Iraqi people and Saddam Hussein are great people, and he's a great leader. And this country only cares about greed and money and oil. You maggots. I mean,
You know what? No, that guy got so many death threats during that time. I mean, you hear him talk about it. That was a tough time. I mean, the
WWE claims they claim that they were going to do WrestleMania that year. I guess it was the LA Coliseum. They were going to do it outside.
Yeah,
a stadium show. And they claimed that because of death threats to Slaughter and such, they had to move it indoors. Truth is, they weren't selling enough tickets.
Yeah, they weren't selling enough tickets, but
they didn't have Hogan anymore. Wasn't the Warrior the champion he fought?
No, it was Hogan versus Slaughter was the main event.
Hogan beat Slaughter.
Oh, that's right. I know. I'm thinking when I saw
Slaughter beat Warrior at Royal Rumble
that
year.
That's right.
My bad. With Savage's help, with my man Macho Man's help. But
memory escapes me sometimes.
We're talking 80s stuff here, talking early 90s stuff, but go back to the 80s and
all the way back to the 70s, actually.
Yeah, it started in the 70s, but my first memory, well, I guess like 79, we played that Pong on TV, but Atari 2600. I mean, for me, you go to the arcade. We had an arcade at the mall. It was about 25 minutes from here. It was called the Gold Mine, but you go in there, man, it was like, I remember wall-to-wall games, and you're like, holy crap. But then when you find out you can have a system there to play games at home, and some of these games that are in the arcade, granted it wasn't. Okay, first of all, before we start, Kyle, do you know the reasoning behind 2600, 52, and 78? Why was it 2600, 26 increments?
I'm not sure the reason behind it, but it is 26 times 2, 52, 26 times 3, 78.
Yeah.
I don't know the reason behind it, honestly, but that's what they did. Not sure why. I should know that. My knowledge of Atari is very vast.
Yes.
But for some reason, I do not. I'm sure I knew it at some point, and it has left my memory. But suddenly, they did 26, 78. Excuse me, 26, 52, 78. And then all of a sudden, they decided to start naming their systems after cats, and you got the Lynx,
Jaguar.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I can remember, and like I said, when we got the 2600, it was like, I guess my dad was, and I probably did this for the Xbox for my daughter too. She wanted one, but I was like, okay, we'll get one for Christmas. I kind of want it too. But 2600 arrives at Christmas, and I'm like a little kid. I mean, Combat. The game came with what? The two joysticks, the two paddles. That I don't think I ever used the paddles.
Wow, you didn't play Kaboom?
No, yeah, but we didn't have Kaboom. We never had Kaboom. But Combat is included with it, and I'm like, I can remember many a late night. You hear that going around and shooting. You had like what 90 different games for Combat or something.
Well, they were
like
all
that.
2-player.
Yeah, 90 different games. One of them, the when you shoot, it would actually bounce off and all this stuff. But it was pretty cool. And then go from there to like, I can remember the day my dad, he worked on the road. He sold on the road, and he came home out of the blue one night with Space Invaders. and I was like, holy crap, because you played in the arcade, and of course the graphics aren't anywhere as near as good as the
It was a
arcade,
decent port for the time.
but you got to play it at home, and you didn't have to keep put quarters in. So I mean, it was pretty cool. But Warden, we'll get to Kyle, because I know Kyle's gonna have a lot to talk about. What was your first experience with Atari?
My first, man, God, it had to be probably 80s.
Yeah,
When did MTV premiere? 81?
80, yeah,
Was it
something like
81?
that. I
I
can't
just remember
remember.
watching a lot of MTV and then playing a lot of Atari. But I had like my game was Donkey Kong. I love Donkey
Yeah.
Kong. I love Donkey Kong. I love Pac-Man. I mean, that kind of old school, but like I had the Pong like in the 70s. But I just remember, I mean, I only had the 2600. I didn't go to the other ones. I kind of video game. I mean, it took I liked it for a while, but I think I kind of got more into music and away from video games. I didn't get back into video games until the 90s with all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I still have my Atari 2600. I have it up in storage. I got an old box there. But I had a question, though, about kind of before I'm sure Kyle's got a lot of stuff to talk about, but the ET game, the most awful game that I never could figure the damn thing out. He always get caught in the well. Is it, I read somewhere or saw something where they buried a bunch of those because they didn't sell.
Yeah, that's true. That was a rumor for years that they had buried them out in the landfill out in New Mexico. And it was thought to be urban legend, but it wasn't. They ended up digging them up. Several years later, they found complete copies. A lot of them ended up being sold on eBay. So, yeah, that's true. It happened. E.T., the object of the game was to put together phones that you could call home. And it was buggy. And you fell in the tunnels, the wells, the caverns, the pits, whatever you want to call them, repeatedly, and you couldn't get out. And that was the problem with the game. The concept of the game, some people would have liked it if it wasn't for the fact that you constantly fell into the holes and couldn't get out.
Yep.
I was telling Stevie earlier, somebody has remade it and released it for the Intellivision, a homebrew version with all those problems fixed and with improved graphics. So if you want to play it to see if you could actually enjoy it with it being completely playable, it's out there now if you have an Intellivision system. But no, E.T., a lot of people say it's responsible for the video game crash of 83, 84. I say partially responsible. I think the bigger problem with the crash, and to me, that's when people think of E.T., that's what they think of as causes a video game crash. I think the biggest problem with the crash was too many companies making bad games. You had everybody and their brother coming out making games. Like that age I mentioned earlier, making Journey Escape. There was so many companies.
So Journey was responsible for the crash.
Oh,
makes sense.
There was so many bad companies and no quality control.
Yeah.
And there was no Nintendo fixed that when they came along, but you didn't have to have a licensing agreement with Atari to make games for Atari. Anybody could start up a company and make games for Atari 2600. Wow. You had to have no license agreement with them.
Yeah, I remember. I think I bought the Journey game half price for like $9 with Christmas money. Whoa, about to lose my microphone. But yeah, it was a horrible game though. I mean, cool concept and they had you'd love it too, Warden, because they played actual Journey music.
I probably would.
Yeah, they played actual Journey music on there, and they had the character.
And I probably would like it. And
you could play
Journey music. That's my kind of game.
You could play as the members of the group too. So yeah, you get Steve Perry. Yeah, it was pretty fun. Back in the day, it probably wouldn't be now, but back in the day, I was like, "Oh yeah, Journey." Yeah.
It doesn't hold up. No.
So is there a part in the game where they get another singer that sounds just like him and they keep going on tour? Well, that's real life. Sorry.
Yeah, just some random Asian guy.
Hey, can you kind of go over the video game crash? I'm not too familiar with that.
First of all, before we get into the crash, I want to hear Kyle, because Kyle's old. I mean, younger than us. I mean, he can't. You pretty much had to get into it after the crash, right?
No, around the time of the crash.
Right.
My granddad's girlfriend, her son was quite a bit older than me. He was a teenager, and he had an Atari 2600. And I was about 4 years old, so it would have been 84. So it was around the time of the crash. I used to go over to their house a lot. He would babysit me and my sister. And he had Atari 2600, and I would play it. And the first game I fell in love with was Dodge 'em. I don't know if either one of you remember the game
Yeah,
Dodge
I
'em.
remember that.
And you know, it was the cars. It was a Pac-Man type maze game with the car, and had another car, and you try to dodge them and get all the dots. And that was the first game I loved. And so that was my first experience with it. Well, later on, this is again post crash. My cousin, this is 86. We were real poor when I was a kid. So 86, 87, my cousin got a Sega Master System for Christmas. And he had Atari 2600. So he gave me his Atari 2600. So I was 6 or 7 at this time, and gave me all his games. So that's what I played. It ended up breaking. In hindsight, I'm sure it was just the power supply. My parents didn't know anything about that kind of stuff. So 88, Atari had re-released the 2600. 7800 was out. I wanted the 7800 because their parents couldn't afford the NES. 7800 was much cheaper. What I got was an Atari 2600 Junior. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I do remember those. Yeah.
So I got Atari 2600 Junior in '88. Remember $50 at Rose's, and I got it for my birthday. Big deal. I was extremely happy, and I got to play all my Atari 2600 games. Then for Christmas that year, this is '88. This is post crash, but Atari was back. They were making games. There was a toy store in Rocky Mount that was going to quit selling Atari games, even though they were still being sold at other places. And so they had all their Atari games on clearance. And I got like 20 Atari games for Christmas that year. And so I loved it. I never got an NES until 1990. That was when I got a Nintendo. So I played Atari up till 90. And then I ended up getting a 7800 in 93. My sister's boyfriend at the time, I was 12, 13. He had an Atari 7800, and I'd always wanted one. And I saw it. I was like, "Hey, do you still want that?" He's like, "I haven't played that in years. Like, can I have it?" He's like, "You can buy it." I said, "With all the games?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "How much?" He said, $25. I said, "I ain't got $15." He said, "I'll take it."
Wow.
So I still have that 7800. I do not play that 7800 anymore. It's in storage. I have a modded 7800 with the AV port on it, where you can, the yellow, red, white cables instead of the coaxial input. I didn't want to mod the one I had since I was 12, so I bought one and then had it modded. That's the one I play. But that's my go-to system is 7800 because it's backward compatible with 2600.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. I always wanted a 7800 for that fact. The 5200, I had, excuse me, I had one of those, but that just like we talked about, me and you talked about last week when we were talking about doing the show, 5200 was not backwards compatible, so you had to start buying games, and
there was an adapter that they ended up making.
Yeah, and then their controllers. The controllers were kind of like the joystick, but it was like it was a small.
It looked like a television remote control with a joystick in
Exactly.
the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the joysticks were non-centering.
And they didn't last. They did not last. I can tell you. I can vouch for that. But 52 was, I enjoyed it. Popeye, I love Popeye. That was my favorite game up there. But, they had a pretty good football game. We played that. And somehow my dad knew some trick where whenever you threw the ball, he could intercept it. And because it was something you had to do just at the right time to do it. But he could do it every time. But that was pretty cool. But and I always wanted
real sports football.
Real sports football, yeah. I always wanted the 7800 because it was backwards compatible with the 26, but we couldn't. I didn't really ever see any around us, which we had Running Rapids. You didn't have a Walmart then. They had some stores up there like a Roses and stuff like that. But
they had them at Roses. They did it the one in Williamson anyway.
Yeah, but it never got a 7800. But what were you going to ask him, Worden, about the crash?
I'm not real familiar with the crash. Like I said, I probably checked out around 84, 85 with video games wise. What led up to that? What, besides Journey, what caused it?
Well, a lot of people will tell you it was E.T. being rushed out, and Pac-Man, the Pac-Man you mentioned before, 2600 port Pac-Man's horrible.
Yeah.
And those two games were massively disappointing to the public. So a lot of people say, and I do think that's part of it. People lost faith in Atari, but the third party companies that could put out games, and they came out, everybody and their brother, the software developers, people that had developed software never before, because video games were making money, started putting out games, just tons of games, and the market became oversaturated with titles, and there was no way of knowing. There was no reviewers at the time, so you'd see a game and think it was cool. You'd see a game. I'm trying to think of a good example of a game that looks cool that's horrible. We'll use Journey Escape for an example, just because we've already talked about. You buy Journey Escape thinking, oh my God, this is going to be great. You take it home, you spent $25, $30, and then it's garbage. And people did that repeatedly, and they eventually, it caused game sales to start suffering. The arcades were still good, but video game sales started suffering. Coleco had came out with the ColecoVision. Mattel came out with the Intellivision.
Yeah.
But because Atari had the market so much, when their sales started suffering, Mattel panicked. And quit making the Intellivision. Ended up being sold off to an independent corporation that brought it back in the late 80s. Coleco quit producing the ColecoVision. And what happened then, Atari was developing the 7800 at this time. They actually sourced it out to a third-party company that was developing it. And it was initially released to test markets in 84, then pulled from the market because Warner, a guy named Nolan Bushnell founded Atari. Then he sold it to Warner Brothers. Warner decided to get out of the home video game industry. They kept their arcade line, Atari arcades, but they got rid of the home video game industry, and they sold it to a family who had a computer business, the Trammels, a guy named Jack Trammell, and they were going to use it to market a line of computers, and they did have a successful line of computers. The Atari 400, the Atari 800, the Atari ST, they were hugely popular in Europe. But they quit making video games altogether in 84. Atari ceased to make video games. Activision still put out games. A couple of other companies still put out games during that time for the 2600, but not many. Then what happened when Nintendo became popular in Japan, then came into the American market in 85, and it was the hottest Christmas item of 85. Then into 86 got even hotter. Trammell and his corporation, which was Atari whatever at the time, said, hey, we got the 2600 sitting here, we got the 7800 sitting here, let's release them. So they released them as budget consoles. 2600 Junior re-release, new sleek, small design, actually looks really cool. And then the 7800, and they were budget-minded consoles. And there was good games being put out by Atari at the time, but there was very few. The problem was, and the reason 7800 wasn't successful, is Nintendo put in license agreements. And so Atari couldn't get third-party support for the 7800.
Oh, wow.
So the games that Atari put out for the 7800 were good, but very little third-party support. And that's what killed the 7800, and the reason it wasn't a success. It wasn't a huge failure. It didn't put Atari out of business. Jaguar did that. But that's pretty much the short story of the crash. And it ended Mattel's involvement in video games. It ended Coleco's involvement in video games. Coleco, of course, would go on to sell lots of Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the story of the crash. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that. But it was, people really thought home video games were done. And then a company called Nintendo came out and said, nope, no, it's not even beginning to be done.
Hey, Worden, I actually just looked up Journey Escape for the Atari 2600. You can buy it on Amazon, $29. So
check eBay. Check eBay. You can get it a lot cheaper.
Yeah, break out your Atari 2600. That's going to be your Christmas present. I'm going to get you a Journey Escape Atari 2600 game.
Well, to avoid that, I'm going to change my address and move.
So one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game for the Atari, Pitfall from Activision. Let me tell you, I told Kyle, I said, I've got a funny story to tell you about Pitfall.
All right.
Christmas, whatever year that came out.
82.
So that was the game we wanted, or my brother wanted. And My brother's like 4 years older than me. So 82, I was 9. So he would be 13. So at that time, just small town, we don't have one anymore, but we had a post office here. And we were out. I guess we were either out or we had started getting out half a days like you do before you get ready to get out for Christmas. So we walk up to the little store right beside the post office, and we stop in the post office to get the mail. And the lady, the lady made a big mistake. The postmaster, she said, "Well, your mom and daddy have a package back here." And my brother was like, "Okay, we'll get it. We'll get it." So we get back to the house, and my great aunt, she was older. She kept us while my parents were at work, and she didn't really have a clue what we could get away with anything in there. So he gets the package home, and instead of putting it up, all of a sudden I look, and he's tearing the package open. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm gonna see what's in this package." And lo and behold, here we go. We pull it out, Pitfall, and we're like, "Holy crap!" So if you're listening to this podcast and you're under the age of like 13 or 10, yeah, Santa Claus does exist. This was just something else. But next thing I know, he's pulling the game out. He's opening the package. He pulls the game out.
Hey, you're already in that
I'm
deep. Might as well go for it.
Exactly. I'm like, "What are you doing, dude?" And pops it in, starts playing. So I'm like, if he's gonna do it, I mean, if he's gonna get in trouble, I'm the youngest, so I could probably just say he did it. I didn't do it. So yeah, we played for 2 weeks before Christmas. We played Pitfall every day. We probably used a whole roll of tape to tape that package back up every day. And they saw the package. And the day we got it for Christmas, I'm sitting there playing it, and my dad's watching. And I'm sitting there playing it, and I'm just moving right through it and all this stuff. He was like, "God, you're pretty good at this game. It's almost like you played this before." And I was like, "Oh, never played it before in my life." We would play that Joker for like 2 or 3 weeks.
How did you hide the lack of excitement that would have been genuine?
I don't know. I don't even remember. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even think I thought about it, but it was like, because it was pretty much his gift. So my brother's gift. So
He had to fake it. He had to fake it.
Yeah, but there was that, and then the probably not the smartest idea, but when you had the little adapter that you plugged in the wall, the AC adapter, we got a short in it, and we were taking tape and trying to tape that thing up and to get it straight, because we were like, we got to play this. I mean, you get up there some days with that Atari, and the adapter was like so hot where you played it so long it would burn your hand. My dad was like, "Y'all need to give that thing a break." And I said, "Well, as soon as we do, you're going to get right on it." But yeah, so many great memories with the 2600, dude. I mean, Nintendo was good. I remember we got a Nintendo later on, but 2600 was always the one that I'll have the best memories of. At Christmas and just getting the games, because my dad was really excited about the 2600.
Yeah, you talk about Pitfall and David Crane, co-founder of Activision. Really, almost every game Activision put out for Atari was fantastic. I own the entire Activision library. And there's Pitfall. Did you ever play Pitfall 2?
No.
Pitfall 2 is incredible. You would if you like Pitfall, you'd love Pitfall 2. It is probably one of the largest games, not counting homebrews, on the 2600. It came out in '83. It has music. Pitfall Harry has multiple levels to go through. He swims. He climbs. He takes hot air balloons to the top of cliffs. And he saves a girl at the end. It actually has an ending. It is an incredible game for the 2600.
Yeah.
One of the most advanced.
Pitfall never really had an end. I mean, you remember they had a little contest where if you got
Activision patches.
Yes. We took pictures and we sent them in, but we never got a patch. So
really?
I guess
Did you ever get the score that you were supposed to?
I don't know. I mean, we got high scores. I can't remember exactly. I'm sure
There was
we
certain
got the
scores you were
score.
supposed to get.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure we got the score if we sent it in.
well, you
But
should have got the patch. They're out
yeah, I
there. If
never
you
got a
want them, you
patch.
can get them on eBay. they're
Yeah,
definitely out there.
because my mom actually, I told her I went back and we're looking at photo albums and looking through it, and some of the pictures we took of the screen she's got in the photo album, the pitfalls. I was like, oh my gosh, you really don't have to put that in the photo album. That's
No, well, that's a great picture. I mean, I think that's cool. Then we talk about Activision games. I'll throw another one out at you, or both you guys. You had to have played it if you didn't own it. River Raid.
yes, I didn't own it, but I had a buddy of mine that had it, and he brought it over. We played the heck out of it.
Yeah, River Raid was an incredible game. Everybody loved that. There was a sequel to it, came out years later, called River Raid 2. More advanced, but not near as good.
We got I'll tell you one I played the heck out of, and it was the Atari Video Pinball.
Yeah, not bad. There's a late release Atari 2600 game. Well, I say late release; they're still releasing them. But in terms of a commercially released game by Atari, it came out in '88 or '89 called Midnight Magic. That is an incredible pinball game for the 2600. If you like video pinball, you would love Midnight Magic.
Yeah, that one. And what was it? It was one night, God, because I mean, these kids don't realize that when you had the Atari, if you had like a high score going, or your progress was not able to be saved
No,
back then. And I
Womp,
was,
womp, womp.
yeah, there was one Sunday night I was playing the heck out of Defender, and I had like a big time score, and here comes my mom comes there. Okay, you got to go to bed. I'm like, okay, just give me a few more minutes. And I mean, gosh, I had never played it so great in my life. And 3 times she came in and she finally hit the power button. Time to go to bed.
Hey, that's her behind you. She's doing the same thing tonight. No.
Yeah, time
Turn
to
it
go to
off.
bed. Yeah. She's believe me, she's already mom's already hit the hay by now. But I'm trying to think of some more games we had back then.
Centipede was one of my
Centipede,
favorites.
yeah.
Centipede's a great
And wasn't
game.
there a kind of a knockoff Millipede? Was that like a knockoff?
Well, it wasn't a knockoff; it was a sequel. Millipede's
It was a
actually
sequel.
actually a better
Yeah.
game. It's actually a way better game.
And what about Jungle Hunt? What was
Jungle Hunt
yeah.
was really
Yeah.
good. It very Pitfall-esque.
Yeah.
Had
Because when y'all said Pitfall, that's what I was picturing Jungle Hunt, but I knew it was a different name.
Yeah, 3 different screens. You had your swing through the vines. You had your swimming level where you punch the shit out of alligators.
Yeah.
And then the third
Rock.
level, the rocks that came at you, and you had to duck them or jump over them, and then you had to beat the head hunter at the end, and then you just cycle through those 3 levels over and over again.
Was Moon Patrol ever on Atari 2600?
Yeah,
It was. Me and
Okay.
Stevie discussed that earlier. It was actually a really good port. You talk about a good arcade port. That came out in '83. And Moon Patrol actually had music. You, for whatever reason, you had to take the second difficulty switch and put it to the right to difficult for the music to play. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
But Moon Patrol was a really good port on the 2600.
I just remember playing that at the arcade, and I just never wondered if it was in a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good port. There was actually a port for the 5200 too that looked almost arcade perfect.
Yeah, I do remember that one. There was a game, and it may have been was there a company that made them called Data East?
Data East later on made NES games, and they made arcade games. But Data Age, they made Journey Escape. But
Okay, there was
Data East. I do not remember them making anything for Atari, but they made a lot of good games like Russian Attack.
Lock and Chase.
Lock and Chase was a Mattel game. It was Mattel, made the Intellivision, but for Atari, they released games under the name M Network. So Lock and Chase by M Network, kind of a Maze Pac-Man-esque game. Yeah, Lock and Chase was a good one.
Yeah, because I just remember that one. You knew the different shapes of the cartridges that were different, which company it was. That one was a black one, and it was kind of slanted at the end, but it
It had
looked
blue,
different.
black and blue end label,
Yeah,
triangle,
yeah, it
and
wasn't
then
square like the regular ones were.
yeah, that was how all the M Network games were. They looked similar to a television games because it was Mattel making them. Probably the best M Network game. There's a few. My personal favorite, because initially you had to send in points to get it. You had to buy Kool-Aid, but eventually they sold it in stores. Kool-Aid Man by M Network.
Oh yeah,
600.
I do remember. I never played it, but I do remember that.
It's
Come
good.
out.
It's simple. It's a really simple game, but it's good. It's fun.
Yeah. I'll tell you another game that I got. I got. It had to be an 80. It had to be an 83. Star Wars: Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah, by Parker Brothers.
Yes, then you can tell the Parker Brothers, because Parker Brothers made Cubert too, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Not weird shaped.
Yeah, weird shaped cartridge.
Somewhat similar to M Network, except they were the same. They didn't do the narrow triangle.
No.
And they were the same size all the way down.
Yeah, but I played the heck out of that Return of the Jedi one. But
I never liked that game very much. A lot of people do, but you mentioned Cubert. I loved Cubert.
yeah, I love Cubert.
That was a good game.
Any
I like
of
the arcade that when he fell off, it'd make that clicking sound. You could almost feel it on the arcade game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And the 2600 port, some people don't like the 2600 port of Cubert. And I think it was a good port for the time. I really do. I don't know what people do. I understand it's not arcade perfect, but I thought it was a solid port. I thought overall Parker Brothers did a good job. They made Frogger for the 2600, which again,
Frogger. Yeah.
not arcade perfect, but good. And they made Popeye, Stevie, for the 2600.
Yep, Popeye.
Hey, you mentioned Return of the Jedi. Was that? I mean, I remember the Star Wars arcade.
That also came out on the 2600 by Parker Brothers.
Where you're shooting the towers and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have that either.
Yeah.
What was it more Return of the Jedi themed or what?
I mean, you had.
What are the big creatures? I'm not a Star Wars guy. The big snow walker. What the hell?
Oh, the one where he kills with the.
Well, that was the Empire one. This one you had where you had to. You flew around. You had the Millennium Falcon. You were flying around and shooting the TIE fighters, and then it got you to another screen where the Death Star. You had to avoid stuff. The Death Star would shoot stuff at you, but you had to keep shooting. I mean, you were knocking off a little bit of it at a time when you shoot. You had to keep moving around.
Was it the half Death Star that they were building like in the movie?
Yeah. What it was, now the first screen was you had like the shield was up, and you had to shoot all these ships until the shield went down, and it had a little hole. They had like little holes that you could, when the shield was down, you could guide your ship through, and then you'd go to where the Death Star was, and then you try to blow up the Death Star. So it was fun. I mean, but if you're not a Star Wars fan, you're probably not going to like it.
Yeah, I got Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back in my collection. I just get them mixed up because I'm not a
Star Wars Empire one now. The Empire one was the one you're talking about where it had a little dot on the Snowwalkers.
Yep.
You kept going back and forth, and if you shot and hit right at that dot, they would blow them up. But yeah, you had to have a pretty good shot on that.
I own both those. I do not own Star Wars the arcade game. I need to get it. It's a little. It was one of the later releases for Parker Brothers. It's somewhat rare. It's a little pricey, and I just haven't picked it up. I got over 300 games in my collection. That's just not one of them. But I need to get it at some point.
Let me ask you this: with your collection, is it just your regular 7800 is the one you have modded? Is that the one you're using to play these games?
Yep.
So what kind of process is that? I mean, as far as that goes.
I just bought a 7800 off of eBay. AtariAge.com is an incredible community. There's a lot of really knowledgeable people up there. I talked to I posted, said anybody up here they can mod my 7800. And I got a message from a couple guys. I verified a dude in Ohio, and I sent it to him. He modded it for I think $30, and sent it back to me. I paid the shipping there and back, and that was pretty much it. He added AV ports to it, and obviously with modern televisions, makes it a lot easier to play with the AV connections. But that's what I use. My collection between 300 and 400 games. The 7800 library, which I want to complete at some point, is only about 50 games in the entire library,
Right.
and I have about 40 of them, and then the rest are all 2600 games. So
I'm looking at a list of games, trying to refresh my memory on some of this stuff. There's one called Pepsi Invaders.
Pepsi Invaders is incredibly rare. If you have a copy of that, you got some money. I don't know. I haven't kept up with prices recently, but that's probably, if it's unboxed, probably a $300 to $500 game box, probably
Wow.
$1,000 to $1,500.
A special version of Space Invaders commissioned by Coca-Cola. I see what it's talking about.
Yep.
I'll tell you now. Pole Position. That was a game I used to love to play.
Yeah, Pole Position was good. I have that, obviously. That's a very common game. Pole Position 2, Stevie, was the pack-in game on the 7800. So you had, instead of one track, you had 5 tracks and much improved graphics. But Pole Position was a lot of fun and a relatively good port on the 2600.
And me and you were talking earlier tonight where we were texting back and forth. One of my games on the 2600 that was Star Raiders. And that was kind of a different game for the 2600 back then. But because and remind me, if you do, what kind of, I see it now. Yes.
The controller.
I'm looking at the controller.
Yeah.
It had a different control, like a keypad up there. I
Correct.
remember now, and I had no clue what I was doing at first with that controller, and I was just hitting buttons. But eventually got to know what I was doing. And that game, like I said, that game was addictive. I spent many an hour.
It was very ambitious for its time. I never have been a fan of. To me, that's one of those games that, at the time, it was so different and ambitious. It was probably really unique and fun to you, but it doesn't hold up.
Right.
Now you don't want to touch it. So it's not a game that I like, but I respect it for what it was trying to do at the time. We're missing some obvious ones if you're trying to think of games. I mean, one of the games that replaced combat as a packing game was Asteroids.
Yes.
And everybody had Asteroids. Great line from National Lampoon's Vacation. You got Asteroids? No, but my dad does sometimes.
Another game, and I never played this. Maybe, and I'm sure you have. Yar's Revenge. That was
the Yard's Revenge is a game that people love. I like it. I think it's a good game. I don't love it. Like some people, it's like their favorite game. But yeah, Yard's Revenge is a very good game. You're behind a force field and you're trying to destroy this big giant bug, and it's a fun game. It's only 2 screens. It repeats itself over and over. But yeah, there's some people that's their favorite game.
And I will tell you this: you were talking about how disappointing Pac-Man was, but and you may disagree with me on this, but they did a whole lot better job on this Pac-Man than Pac-Man on Atari 2600.
Also, I'm close. It came out much later. Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man came out late 82, early 83. And that was great. It wasn't perfect by any means.
No, but it was a whole lot better than you didn't have.
Yes. No, there's no question. Now, if you want to play a really good Pac-Man game on the 2600, Junior Pac-Man, which came out around the time of the crash, is the best Pac-Man game on the 2600. It's incredible. But Miss Pac-Man was a huge step up over Pac-Man. It's not even close. Now, Miss Pac-Man is good. The 7800 port of Miss Pac-Man is excellent. You would love that, Stevie. It's not arcade perfect, but it's pretty damn good.
The worst. I'm looking at a list of the worst games.
All right.
Wait a minute. Somebody's put Burger Time up here on the worst games.
Burger Time on the 2600
that was a great game.
Was not good. No, not on the 2600 it wasn't.
I don't remember the 2600. I remember the video games.
Oh, in the arcade, it's incredible. And on the NES, it's incredible. But that was released by M Network. And I think Intellivision did that on purpose for Mattel. because the Intellivision port is really good, and I think they intentionally put out a crap version on the 2600.
Oh, okay. ET, of course, is up here.
Burger Time should not be on a top. If it's a top 10, Burger Time should
No.
not be on there.
There's
It's,
one
it's
called.
bad, but it's not that bad.
There's one up here called "I Want My Mommy."
That's a rare game. I've never played it. I can't comment on it.
Mr. Dew's Castle.
Mystery Castle's a good game. That
Yeah,
should not be on the worst games list.
Yeah, this is deathsparrow.com. 3D tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, that's pretty much self-explanatory.
Yeah, Firefighter.
I would not put Firefighter on the worst games either. Firefighter is fine. I mean, it's by iMagic. They made a lot of good games.
Yeah. Now they have one too that's kind of similar to this.
Towering Inferno.
Yes, somebody actually gave me that game for Christmas one year, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was not that great.
Firefighter was better than Towering Inferno. Firefighter
Yeah.
should not be on a worst games list. That's
Yeah.
no.
Space Jockey.
Space Jockey shouldn't be on a worst games list either. Space Jockey is just too damn easy. That's the problem with it. I mean, a toddler could beat it.
Yeah. Flag Capture.
Very simple. It was an early release. Is what it is.
You can tell by the artwork on the cartridge. That was one of the early releases because it's the actual Atari release.
Are you looking at the picture label artwork, or is it just the script? There was two labels for that.
The label, it's actually on the cartridge. It's stick on the cartridge. It doesn't show the box or anything.
Okay, but it is a graphic label, not just script.
Yeah, it's a graphic. Bugs.
Bugs is bad. That's a data age game. The same company that made Journey's Escape. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, and then Karate.
Oh yes.
I can tell
that should be on anybody's worst game. Karate is effing horrible, embarrassingly bad.
So Starship.
I own a copy of Starship. Honestly, couldn't comment on it. I haven't played it enough to say how bad it is.
And then, believe it or not, ET is not on number one up here. Firefly.
Firefly's bad. I'm trying to remember who made Firefly. I want to put that on Data Age also, but I'm not 100% sure.
Let me see if it was. It came in. Okay, this evidently came in about Mythicon. And what it represents is one of the reasons for the video game crash. When you see Firefly, you understand.
Yep, Mythicon made it. Okay.
Trying to be the low-end guys are selling games at the price of $9.95.
Yeah, at grocery stores and stuff like that. Correct.
Yeah, I can tell by the look of the box here. But yeah,
there was a low-income game or a company that made bargain basement games at that time called US Games, and they get a bad rap. There's some decent games by US Games. Mad. I don't know if you remember the game Mad or oh God, I'm having a brain freeze right now, but there was another one they came out with that was pretty good. But when you talk about those bargain companies that cause the crash, US Games I always think gets a bad rap. If you want to look up some games by them, that's kind of a fun topic to discuss.
I just you're right. There were so many games because I remember you get the video game magazines back then, and then when you look at what about adventure? What
I am not now. Let me be very clear when I say this. I respect adventure. I understand that adventure is a huge part of Atari's history. I understand the appeal of adventure. I never liked it. I don't like that style of game. I didn't like Zelda. It's not my thing. I don't like RPGs. It was the first ever RPG. And so it is revolutionary for its time. You better have a damn good imagination when you're playing it because some of the stuff that's supposed to be there is just like little squares and shapes. But
yeah, it looked like a duck.
Yeah, it does. Exactly. Yeah. Adventure is a very in-depth game, though, in terms of gameplay. A lot of people love it. I'll tell you another game that I'm going to say, and you're going to go, oh, yeah, Berserk.
Yes.
Berserk was one that in the arcade had the voice synthesizer in the 2600. Pretty good port. A lot of people love Berserk. You hit the wall and you would fry. That's one that everybody loves.
Berserk. You remember, the whole video game craze was so big back then. Of course, I know you guys remember Pac-Man Fever. Buckner and Garcia did the album, and they did Berserk was one of the songs. I think it had, what was it? Frogger was one. Berserk, Asteroids. They did one on Asteroids. Of course, Donkey Kong. Do the Donkey Kong. Yeah. We'll have to do an album review on that for long.
Love Donkey Kong, by the way. 2600.
Yeah, Donkey Kong. I remember I got that for one of my birthdays. Had the white. It was
by Coleco.
Yeah, white cartridge.
Yep.
And
not a great port on the 2600.
No.
7800 port is really good. The NES port is good. I'm a huge fan of the game in general. I'm really good at Donkey Kong. That's one of the games I can kick anybody's ass at in terms of getting a high score.
I'm looking at some of the. It's a list up here of games. Spy Hunter, that was one I played.
Yeah, Spy Hunter was good on the 2600. I believe, Stevie, you'll find this interesting. I believe that was ported by Sega to the 2600. If my memory serves me correct, I own a copy. I could go look. But yeah, Spy Hunter was a really good game on 20. And Spy Hunter also came with its own controller. You could play it with the joystick, which most people did. But if you had the controller it came with, it gave you you could make your car put out the slick stuff. You remember on the arcade how the car you could drop stuff to make other cars spin out. If you had the extra controller, you could do that with Spy Hunter on the 2600.
Now I'm looking at this list, but I don't know if this is no, it never happened. Okay, ColecoVision games. This is one. What was the difference? Because there was a ColecoVision system too, wasn't it?
Yeah. What was the difference in what? Coleco
between that and Atari? Because Coleco was making 2600 games too.
Yes. Coleco had incredible graphics. When they came out, that was the reason the 5200 was invented, to compete with the ColecoVision. Coleco has a small library. Pretty much every game ColecoVision is good. They weren't around long, but at the time, graphic wise, they were revolutionary. They by far had the best graphics out there for the time. It wasn't even close. They just had a small library. That's really, and they came out late. They came out just like 2 years before the crash, and kind of just bad timing. But ColecoVision is a good system.
Because I was looking at one of the games, and I was like, if I'd have seen this, I would have had to have the Dukes of Hazzard game.
Oh yeah. Never came out for the 2600.
Yeah, they said it made two attempts to release a 2600 game. Both versions failed to materialize.
There's a prototype out there, Stevie. If you really want to play it, you can play it. You can play it on if you do any simulation. There's a prototype out there, unfinished Dukes of Hazzard game for the 2600.
Okay. That might be something I have to check out. Because I know when this is over, I'm gonna be like, I forgot to ask him about this game.
Well, there's so many games that you think about that should have been made. Dukes of Hazzard. There's an 18 prototype. I mean, how?
Yeah. Oh gosh, 18 would have been great.
Yeah. There's so many obvious games that.
Did they ever make a Rocky game for Atari?
They did not. There was one for ColecoVision. There was one for the Sega Master System.
Yeah. That was something that would be like something that was missed too. But yeah, then looking at Activision games here.
There was a G.I. Joe game for the 2600 by Parker Brothers. It's pretty good. It's a paddle game.
So Transformers had one at the end for Activision.
There was never a commercially released Transformers game on the 2600 by Activision.
Okay, yeah, because it says 86, and then it was 2007 and 2017, so that would have been a.
It was on the NES.
Yeah.
It was actually not in America. It was released on the NES, what was called the Famicom in Japan, with the Transformer game. Never came out in America.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there was so many developers getting stuff out there that, I mean, Could that have been the reason for the crash? Yeah, it could have been, but
Not that was the reason.
but I mean, I just remember.
It was a He-Man game. You want to talk about stuff like that?
Oh, that's exactly what we need is a He-Man game.
It was a He-Man game by M Network, and it was horrible.
Of course, it was a Smurfs game. I'm sure.
Yeah, by Coleco. Released for the ColecoVision and the Atari 2600. 2 Smurf games, actually. They're both decent. Good graphics.
I just remember just being excited. You were excited about, and it's not like that now. You were excited about games coming out because I guess anytime you went to the arcade and you were like, oh, okay, maybe that's coming out on 2600, which, like you said, the graphics weren't going to be the same, but it was something you didn't have to pump quarters into, and you could play it right there at home. But we'll have to bring you back on. I don't know what your what other systems do you have? Talk about your collection. You said 300 or 400 at Atari. Is that is Atari the only thing you got in your collection?
Pretty much. I had a large NES collection at one point. I sold it. I have the NES Classic Mini, and I have it modded with 1,000 games on it. So that's fine for me if I want to play. I have a decent Sega Genesis collection. But no, my passion, I've owned everything at some point.
Yeah.
But I ended up selling it because I don't care about it. The 2600, 7800 is my passion, and that's the majority of my collection. I have a mini arcade, one of the 1-up arcades of Pac-Man.
Right.
But yeah, majority of my collection, I own 2 Atari 7800s, Atari 2600 Junior, and Atari 2600 4-switch wood grain, and then all those Atari games. That's definitely my passion by far for video games. And I think we've put Worden to sleep there.
I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm just kind of Googling some of the games you're talking about because I'm not really quite familiar with them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, there's so many games, man, and I will encourage anybody who has any interest in this, go to AtariAge.com. There's so many good games being put out now. I mean, the home brews that come out now for the Atari are amazing. I mean, if some of those games would have been able to be made back in the day, there would have never been a crash. The fact, the same hardware, but what they're able to do is put so much more memory now in the cartridges. Back then those games was 4K, 8K. I think maybe they went up to 12K with some games. Now they can do 36K games. They can force on the Atari 2600 cartridge, and they can do so much with it. And it's incredible what they can do with the same hardware.
Yeah, and looking at, you sent me some video.
Yeah, Stay Frosty 2 is one I sent you that I think is incredible.
Yeah, that might be one you look on YouTube, or Stay Frosty 2.
Okay.
And then the Hero game.
Hero by Activision. That was a late release game by Activision that came out 84, 85. It's incredible. Graphically, gameplay. In terms of original release games, not counting homebrews, Hero might be my favorite game on the system. It's an incredible game.
Because if you look at that,
it was like an early NES game almost.
Yeah, it does. It really did. That's the first thing I said when I saw it. I was like, that looks like a Nintendo game. But
and it was so sad when it came out that it sold okay for the time, but had the crash never happened, I mean, that game would be talked about alongside Pitfall and Miss Pac-Man and games like that.
Trying to bring up, I would share if I could the Journey Escape game play up here so Worden can see that.
Yeah, you do that. I think I'm going to drop off. So.
What? You already asleep on us anyway.
Well, I told you guys. I mean, I checked out kind of early, so I'm learning a lot from you guys. I mean, you
can learn a lot from a dummy.
Yeah, yeah. I do that every week with Stevie.
Oh, you're funny. You're funny. And luckily, this is yes.
Well, Stevie, something's excited, Stevie.
Well, it's 4 minutes. I'm not going to do that to you, Worden. I'll send you the link to it. But Kyle.
Oh, please do.
Before we let you go, talk a little bit about I've been on you guys' shows, the Sports Objective. You are a ECU football fan, ECU sports fan.
Yeah.
You need to check out Kyle and Bubba David. You
And
guys
Matt
have
Semenza, former
actually,
ECU linebacker
yeah,
Matt Semenza.
you guys have expanded to a freaking network since it's been a couple of years since I went on there. You guys have expanded to like a network now.
Correct.
Tell us where we can find the Sports Objective and all your other shows out.
Sports Objective can be, first of all, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, Sports Objective. Just type in the Sports Objective, Facebook and Twitter. We're live. Our shows are always live on Facebook and archived on Facebook. And they're on YouTube. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, from Apple Podcasts to Spotify, whatever, we're on there. We have a whole network of shows. We have the original Sports Objective, which is me, Dave, Bubba, and Matt. We drop 3 shows a week. Then Jeff Connors, former strength and conditioning coach, has a show called Absolute Empowerment on our network on Mondays. Matt Semenza, along with ESPN analyst and former ECU tight end Jay Sunhalter, do a show every Wednesday called Sonny and Semenza, where they look at college football as a whole. We have several different shows. We have a whole network. I wish we could make more damn money off the network. We got about 5 sponsors. We need more. So if you happen to be listening out there and you're an East Carolina fan and you own a business, probably get you some customers. So, but it's a lot of fun. And if you're an East Carolina fan and you ain't listening to the Sports Objective, you're missing out. We have a lot of great guests on. We preview games. So that's pretty much it.
So, Warden, I'm sorry, I'm going to do it to you. This is going to be the preview for the Journey Escape video game, the promo. So we'll do that. I don't think we'll get any copyright infringement on this, but we'll see.
You may get a lawsuit from me.
Data 8 presents the world's first rock video game, Journey Escape. The concert's over. Now you must help each member of Journey escape through mobs of love-crazed groupies, shifty-eyed promoters,
Get to the forest.
sneaky photographers. Find your roadies and manager,
You got 10 minutes.
and run for the escape vehicle, and live to rock another day. Journey Escape for the Atari 2600 from
I'm
Data.
escaping now.
I'm not sure that was a real commercial, but
Hey, that sounded like Casey Kasem.
It did sound like Case K. That's the first thing I was thinking, too.
it did, but commercial just doesn't seem real.
No, we don't have to go back. We'll just take your word for it.
I got it. I'm just taking it. I was taking it down. But yeah, that you saw the gameplay on that. I do remember that. You got through groupies, and
I don't know why you need to escape groupies.
You never saw the sequel, the Journey 2, and it's when the fans try to escape from the concert. That's what they need to come up with. It's like help
Just
those
a small town girl.
Help those poor people that were
lonely
dragged to this concert. Was Striper opening up? Oh no.
Jeez, you have no taste.
I hang out with you, don't I? Well, that proves a lot right there.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. But yeah, Kyle, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, guys.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we go, we could talk some wrestling.
Sure.
Well, did you have any wrestling to talk about, Warden? Were you talking about wrestling earlier?
We already talked about wrestling.
Oh, that's right. We talked about it.
We did like the first 20 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
Somebody needs their mother to come and put them and tuck them in to go to bed.
I need to go to bed. I've been up
Look, I'm used to long podcasts. I do a podcast with Dave Richmond, and we'll go all damn night.
Dave's a good guy. Dave, I remember Dave and you when I came on the show. I think we put Bubba to sleep that night talking about wrestling.
Oh yeah, Bubba cannot contribute to a wrestling conversation.
He didn't say. We talked for like 30, 40 minutes straight. You never heard a word out of him.
One of the best podcasts ever. We had C.W. Anderson on, and it was nothing but me and C.W. Anderson having a conversation for an hour. Dave and Bubba were just sitting there silent.
We gotta have Kyle back on and talk wrestling. I mean, that can.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a long show about that because.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Whether it's talking retro wrestling or
I'll probably be more probably chime in more because I'll know more about that than I.
what could be done to fix modern wrestling? I always think it's a good topic.
You know, I'll say this. I will say this. WWE has improved since Triple H took back over. It's
no
not,
doubt.
I'm not watching it every week, but it's watchable when I watch it.
One thing I don't understand is what he's doing. Vince was pushing the hell out of Austin Theory, and he's good. And
Yeah, he's good.
to
but-
me, that's one thing that I think Triple H has dropped the ball on is he's almost trying too hard not to push Theory now, just
because Vince was pushing.
yes, and I think Theory's good. I think you're missing a chance there to make a superstar. So
Since when did we cash in Money in the Banks on U.S. championships though?
I didn't even realize that happened. Did that happen?
He tried to last night, and he
on
backfired.
Seth Rollins. I see. I saw that posted on the Calder Cornette Facebook page that they really buried Theory now, and I didn't even look.
They
into
they did like a triple turn. It was what they called a triple turn. Lashley turned heel. Rollins turned babyface. Then Lashley came back out and cost Theory the match after he cashed in, and I guess he would turn back babyface.
Cashing in a Money in the Bank on a U.S. title is completely illogical. Why would you do that? So there's no logic there. That's bad booking by Triple H. I mean,
yeah, that's a mistake there. But you just devalued Money in the Bank. I mean,
correct. Well, and it may be devalued even more, which I'm actually in favor of. They're talking about doing away with the Money in the Bank pay-per-view and putting it back the match itself on WrestleMania. I think the Money in the Bank concept is played out. I think it needs to be done away with for a couple of years.
Didn't they say Hell in a Cell that we're going to do away with that pay-per-view too and just have that as a standalone match?
I'm not sure that, but
it's Elimination Chamber.
I think they just need to do away with Elimination Chamber altogether.
Yeah, I think I'd rather see.
That's putting a hat on a hat.
I'd rather see War Games.
There's a rumor that they're going to have War Games at Survivor Series. I don't know if it's true or not, but that is a rumor.
Yeah.
We'll see if it happens. We should know that pretty soon.
Yeah, I've been hearing it for years. I know NXT has done it a time or two, but the big boys, in WWE do it. Who is this? Did you see the girl that? And I can't not remember her name. Saved my life. She was with. Came out with AJ Styles and Anderson and Gallows last night to kind of even up things with.
I didn't watch Raw last night, so I really can't. I don't know who you're talking about. They're feuding with the dark people.
And let me tell you this.
What is the name of that group? I can't even think of the name of it.
I can't either.
Ed started it. Now he's uninvolved in it, and it's Rhea Ripley and
the Dark Order. Is that what they're called?
No, that's AEW.
AEW.
It's Rhea Ripley, Eddie
Grayson.
Okay,
Dominic Mysterio.
Dominic Mysterio.
Eddie Grayson, and then that Priest guy and
Damian Priest. Yeah, the dark. I don't remember what it's called.
Kate.
It's like the super spooky group, but
hold on.
How are they going to coexist with Bray Wyatt?
Judgment Day.
But now you got Bray back, so Bray's is going to have his own group, I'm sure. So you're going to have two spooky groups in WWE. I mean, it's I don't know.
You ever heard of Mia Yim?
Mia Yim.
Mia Yim, whatever.
Maybe. It sounds familiar.
She was in WWE before. She was released in November 2021. But
okay, I think it's Mia Yim. I believe. I believe what you're talking about.
Yeah, she's the answer to Rhea Ripley. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Rhea Ripley's. I think she's good. She's big. She's believable. She looks like a badass as a female. I like Rhea Ripley. I think the WWE has something with her. and could do even more with her. I think.
I like her better than Dominic.
Dominic did do a good one good promo recently.
Is that what he talked about? Ray wasn't his dad.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I was kind of surprised at how well he did on that because I was like, this guy's never going to be able to work the microphone.
nah, he's gotten better. Sometimes it's easier to be a heel. It just is because it's fun to be mean. It's fun to pretend like you're a bad guy.
Warden, you don't have that problem, do you?
Nope, it's natural talent. I don't have to act.
But yeah, we'll have to bring Kyle back on. We'll talk about some wrestling. We'll come up with a good topic and talk about some wrestling with him one
Sounds
night.
good to me.
All right, guys, that's going to do it this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed our little trip back in time to the 80s to talk video games. And you could go to the – I was trying to think of the name of that toy store you were talking about in Rocky Mount. Because it had to be in Tarrytown Mall.
It was probably, I K&K before it became KB, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think you're right. Yeah, but yeah, you can go get your Orange Julius and play at the gold mine and get your slice of pizza in the mall. Gosh, I miss those days. But
very few good malls left. Very few. Greenville Mall still decent.
Yeah.
We live by Goldsboro, and Berkeley Mall has some stuff in it. But that's another good discussion to have at some point. Malls that you remember and what they are now and what they're like.
The one in Runt Rapids, good Lord, dude. He would, if you had ever been in it back in the 80s and see it now, oh, geez, it's pitiful.
Got to be better than the Vernon Park Mall in Kinston. Vernon Park Mall in Kinston literally, I don't know. Vernon Park Mall in Kinston has one store in it, Belk. That's it. There's nothing else in the entire mall. There's
not a Belk or anything in the mall in Runt Rapids. I forgot. I haven't been in there so long. I don't even remember what's in there now. But it's not anything. It's not a big anchor store in there. I'll put it that way.
But that's it. There's the one anchor store, and there's nothing else in the entire mall. It's insane.
Jeez. Anyway, if you want to find us on Facebook, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram. Find our Facebook groups. Warden, I'll get this right. That 80s page, all things rock, hard rock, and metal. And of course, you can find us at On the Fly, our Facebook group. And as far as listening to us on podcasts, anywhere you find your podcast at, Good Pods, Podchaser, Apple Podcast, blah blah. Yeah, anywhere you find it, and then our YouTube channel. And guys, if you enjoy listening to us like you did like tonight, give us a 5-star review. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That 5-star review helps us tremendously. Moves us up the food chain a little bit. Gets us out there for more people to see. We really appreciate it. It won't take 3 minutes of your time. Maybe not even that. Depends on how computer savvy you are. It won't even take that long, and it doesn't cost a dime. So please do that if you're enjoying. A lot of you are enjoying it because the numbers are going up. So. Please leave us that review. Warden.
You wait till you get those Kyle from LaGrange numbers in.
Kyle from LaGrange. Like I said, I know Mr. Matthews, Robert, he'll be if we'd have went live tonight, he would have been commenting like crazy. Kyle from LaGrange.
So all right, okay. So this is live to tape. We're not live right now.
No, we're not live. We're recording.
I could have cussed a lot and just seen how your editing abilities were.
I appreciate that. But Warden, any last words?
No, just a pleasure to meet you, Kyle, and talked about a subject that I know that our group in the 80s love. And, growing up with that, I actually learned a lot. Usually I can't shut me up, but this one got me quiet because I didn't know much about it as much as I there. So,
I hope you enjoyed it anyway.
Yeah, I did.
I do want to say one other thing before I go, and I want to put this out there, not so much for personal reasons, but just for awareness. I'm 42 years old, and I have colon cancer, going through chemotherapy right now. Had surgery back in September. If you are a person and you are over the age of 45, your insurance will pay for you to get a colon cancer screening, go get a colonoscopy. If you have any symptoms, and no matter how young you are, younger and younger people are affected by colon cancer every day. If you have any rectal bleeding, don't fool around and assume it's hemorrhoids. because it might cost you your life. Go get a colonoscopy.
Yeah, and we definitely got you in our prayers, Kyle, as what you're going through right now. And
Yes, sir.
yeah, definitely, guys, go get checked out. If you got any of those symptoms, you need to get checked out.
And even if you don't, if you're over 45, your insurance will pay for it. Go get a routine one. If you got colon polyps, just simply remove them, and they won't become cancer. A lot of people have colon polyps walking around right now and don't know it. And it's just time bomb waiting to happen. Just go get a colonoscopy.
Right. All right. Thank you again, Kyle, for coming on.
Womp.
Well, you will. No, look, that's something you see more and more every day all around us, is cancer. And I mean, every time you turn around, it's just been a lot of people that I know that have been that are affected by it. And it just seems like it's like every week I'm hearing somebody new. So definitely something that needs to be taken care of. If you can prevent it, by all means, prevent it.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And I would, encourage. I don't want to get, we've gone too long here. I would get into my whole personal story and really tell the whole thing, but I won't do that right now. But yeah, again, go get a colonoscopy. I would encourage anybody that if you're over 45, your insurance will pay for it. If you have symptoms and you're under 45, make your doctor schedule a colonoscopy.
Definitely. All right, guys, and that's going to do it for this week. Thank you again, Kyle, for coming on, and we'll definitely have you back on again. We got some wrestling to talk about, but you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week on the fly.
See ya.